Well, hello, Dave. How are you, my friend?
I'm very good, thanks, Howard. Yeah.
Just to give everybody a actually, do you know what I was going to say? Just give everybody an idea of how long we've known each other and all the rest of it. But I'll have done an intro for the podcast. So for the video, I'll put it in the introduction down below. So now everybody knows that we've known each other for years. That Keith Platt was created in your presence. All sorts of bollocks like that. And in fact, Keith Platt's one and only film performance is in a short film of yours, where I met Phil Jackson, who's been on the show as well. So my apologies for taking so long to get you on.
No problem. Everyone's busy. Not me. Everyone else.
You are. Well, you are now.
I am.
You are now. And I mean,
now,
after years of struggle and and quite a few successful short films, this is all kind of gathered pace quite nicely. So do you want to sort of take us back to the beginning? Because I know you kind of you and your co-writer sort of smashed this out fairly quickly, didn't you?
Back to the beginning of my film career, or back to the beginning of the let's not go about that far.
Let's try and stick to this story, the story of how basically you go from an idea to writing it to where you are now.
Well, Brian and I met at Brian McLean, who people will know. You search for him, you'll come up with he's a journalist for the Express and Independent. His particular area of interest is Bitcoin, but that's another story. But Brian and I met at a film festival in early 2019, and we connected straight away.
So what was he doing? What was a journalist whose favorite, whose area of expertise is Bitcoin?
He's a filmmaker,
and you bumped into him at a film festival. What the fuck is he doing there?
Well, we both had films on, and he's a filmmaker. He's a filmmaker as well. So Brian is he's probably a little bit more advanced than me in terms of the films that he's had funded. So he's had a few short films funded previously. But we connected straight away. But for me, he put me to shame because he's very cine literate. He'll talk about stuff that I've never even heard of, particularly Korean cinema, which I'm like, oh, well, that sounds interesting. I must check that out. But we found that we had a similar interest in types of stories we wanted to tell. And we corresponded thereafter. And he told me about this idea he had for a short film about AI. And so we started work on that. And we smashed it out in a couple of weeks. We had a first draft. We got it up to about an 8th or a 9th draft. And then we shelved it because we got into another idea, which was based around the effects of Brexit on Northern Ireland. So we had this idea of this conspiracy story set around Brexit. We wrote initially a stage play, and then we quickly adapt that into a screenplay. Again, shelved that. So these are two things we've yet to go back to and develop further. We shelved that in favor of something that we felt would be quite easy to produce, and what became known as, initially it was I think it was Damascus Street, we called it, which is anyone who knows Belfast, it's an area of the Holy Lands. It's a street in the area of the Holy Lands. So that didn't have much of a ring to it. But Brian then said, well, the story is essentially about home invasion. So let's call it Housejackers. And that was how it was born, really, the whole concept. So we started first draft in June 2020. And we finished the first draft by September. Right. And then it went through 5 or 6 more drafts, which took us up to March this year. And then we felt confident that people would get it, they'd understand it. There wouldn't be too many questions particularly about the plot, which was easy to fix, but particularly the depth of characterization, which we've worked on as well, because the story's based partly on Brian's experience. A lot of it is based on what actually happened to him. So it was quite good to be able to draw on that experience from him.
Well,
And then
there's two things that I just wanted to there's two things I wanted to pick up on there. Firstly, you know, I've said a lot on this, and whenever I have people on, the phrase "write what you know," and writing something where the person you're writing it with went through something very similar to this, and that's what inspired the whole thing. That's huge, isn't it? It's you know,
absolutely,
that gives you a big step forward. And secondly, for people listening, and you know, well, for everyone, it's important to highlight that when you are writing, when you are not unknown, but you're on a level where it's tough to get stuff made, you can be writing the best thing ever about AI, but if it's going to need 100 million to make it come to the screen, the chances of your idea ever making it to the screen are fucking slim. Whereas, like you say, you know, and there was something else as well, which was larger scale, and you shelved both those to concentrate on something that you knew you could, you had presumably, like you developed a rapport and a chemistry between the two of you working on those other two things, and so it's kind of like, right, okay, let's really hone our skills and work on something that, you know, he's mentioned this idea. I mean, having written with you myself, I know that the two of you will have had the conversation, and he'll have sort of started mentioning this story, and you know, you'll have gone, hey, hang on, we need to write this. This is what we need to do. And that self-contained thing is very important as well, because it is all about cost ultimately. And you know, and so if you can write a script that is punchy, that rings true, that's well crafted, but is also not going to cost a load of money to make, that's the kind of, that's the ultimate, really, isn't it? That's what you're really looking for.
Well, that was the appeal. So we did this in March. We did a rehearsed reading. The other key thing is, it's worth pointing out, is writers often think that the script is enough. Not anymore. Not in this day and age. I created a pitch deck. I've been creating pitch decks for a number of my own films. I wrote a spec TV series, and I'm yet to get that in front of anyone. But part of the process was creating the pitch deck, which is, for people who don't understand what a pitch deck is, imagine it as a presentation of the idea. So it's visuals, it's suggestions for casting, it's summaries of the story. So if you've not got the time to read, in the case of my TV drama, it was over 300 pages of script. If you've not got time to do that, and who has, you can just look through 12 pages of a pitch deck and go, oh, I understand what this is about. This sounds quite interesting. So we created a pitch deck for Housejackers, and we also went a stage further. We made it almost impossible for people to ignore it as a concept, because we created a version of it in the form of a table read, which one of the advantages we found of lockdown was everyone's communicating on Zoom. So everyone was more likely to get in the room, so to speak, on a Zoom meet. So we had a dozen actors, and our friend Phil Jackson kindly directed it for us, the read. So we did a number of rehearsals, and then we got everyone in the room to do the read. And then we cut together, I read the stage directions of the script, but then we cut together all the performances and created a 2-hour version, way too long for the actual running time of the film, but with various problems that we had with internet connections and things. There's a few little blips here and there, but we had a version of it. So we packaged that up then with the latest draft of the script, the pitch deck, and a link to the Vimeo video of the read. And we got interest. We sent it out to about a dozen production companies, and we got interest from 3. And 2 of them in particular were very keen. One of them, Causeway Pictures, said they were interested, but they were catching up because after the pandemic on stuff that they had slated for last year. But then Poly set up a meeting. Poly Productions set up a meeting within weeks. I couldn't believe it. And we were suddenly in another Zoom meeting, this time discussing, this is the best thing we've had on our desk for years. It's going to be easy to produce. It's low budget. It's exactly what we're looking for. We were just having a conversation about, we need a script that's easy to produce. It's contained. So it was, what's the word? Symbiotic. Yeah. And yeah, it just worked. Everything was right at the right time. So it's, you know, the idea of luck. We'd done a lot of prep, and then the opportunity arose. So it wasn't luck. It was just.
Well, look, I always look. You made your own luck. There's no
exactly.
such thing as luck. You make your own luck. You know, it's the old. You know, yeah. I worked for 10 years to become an overnight sensation.
Yeah.
You know, but so you go from the first meeting on Zoom, and they're saying, like, you know, we love this. Actually, can you just bear with me 1 second? I'm just going to pause. I'm just going to pause.
Yeah.
And by the miracle of the pause button, we're back. So you went from that first like Zoom meeting and them saying, "Oh, this is great." So where's it go now?
Well, beyond that, we then suddenly found ourselves in another meeting with Danny, who was he's company director of Polly. My dog's just come in the room, by the way. It's not a ghost entry.
Yeah, it looks mysterious. Speaking of housejackers,
yeah, the door opens mysteriously. It's my dog. We found ourselves in a meeting with the company director, Danny, who's he set up Polly Productions. He was joined by Leo McGuigan, the young producer, and their production manager was there. We suddenly had a room full of people who were then saying, "This is what we're going to do." I mean, the key phrase was, "This film is going to get made with or without Northern Ireland Screen." That's what they said. Ideally, they wanted Northern Ireland Screen on board because of their experience in not only nurturing new talents and bringing people through, but also they've made lots of different productions. And Polly are a new company. They'd only done a number of shorts, which had been pretty successful, but this was their first feature film. So steadily then over the next few weeks, following a number of additional meetings, we then found ourselves in the position where they offered us an option on the script. So an option is an agreement that they will make the film in a set time, and that by way of paying us a retainer, if you like, an option fee, we don't take it anywhere. We give them the opportunity to try and make the film. In this case, it was 24 months. And that was kind of, when was that? That was July. That brought us up to July. And then a series of further meetings, we got Northern Ireland Screen interested. They knew about the script anyway, because Brian had already sent it to their head of development, and she said she really liked it. She had a few issues she wanted to discuss. But then when Polly took over, they seemed to take a step back. But then Polly needed them on board, and also they needed to try and get a distributor. Now with Northern Ireland Screen, if anyone knows about regional agencies, they command a lot of respect in the industry. We're more likely now to get a distributor and a sales agent with Northern Ireland Screen on board than we would be if it was just an ordinary production company.
Well, again, this is something else, you know, like we were talking about the business side earlier, and about, you know, making it, you know, filmable, making it easy, and looking further down the line. The other part of that is that there's getting a film made, and then there's getting a film distributed.
Yeah.
You know, and it's, for instance, it's like making a YouTube video and sticking it on YouTube. It's like, great, we've made the YouTube video and that's wonderful, but it's now up there amongst millions of other clips. Why would anybody watch it? And it's like, yeah, you've got to get it out there somehow. That's
it. So having a distributor, that problem is overcome, because they make sure, in best case scenario, you get a theatrical release. So you see it in cinemas, it will get a commission from a broadcaster like Channel 4, for example.
Yeah.
But also that a deal will be done with a streaming service, and there are many now, of course. So it could be any or all of those things which it's released on. And with a distributor, that's their job. That's what they do. So it's just like you say, to use that analogy with the YouTube video, making a video and sticking it up there and hoping everyone will see it. That's not distribution. That's production, but you're not getting an audience. Whereas,
you're not getting eyeballs.
Yeah, exactly. We are more likely to get an audience now.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, the thing is, as you know, I have spent years writing, and I've spent years trying to get to this position. And what's funny is you kind of go, oh, that's great. Now we've got an option. oh, great, it's getting made. And then suddenly you start to envisage all these other problems, which include,
Yeah.
well, now we're handing the script over. We've just appointed a director. He's already come and said he's got some changes he wants to make to the script, which we agree are improving it. They're very simple ideas, so we're in agreement with that. But then you'll have all the other people involved. You'll have your editor on board. The editor will cut it different to how we imagine it. Well, that's the nature of film. It's collaborative. You have to accept and embrace the fact that everyone is involved. Everyone has expertise and an input into an overall vision.
Well, you've played in bands before, and it's the difference between being
not at your level,
but well, no, but you know what I mean. I mean, that's very kind of you. Very solo, but like there's a difference between a solo artist. There's a difference between doing what you want in your bedroom, and then you take that to a band, and someone's going to go, yeah, well, that section there, that section really, it belongs there. And there and you can't be precious about it. You can't go no. But this is mine. It's like, no, we're all trying to make the song better, and that means that you just need to let go of it a bit. And it's the same, isn't it? It's collaborative. You've got, because an editor and a director, they're not coming on board to just go, oh, how do you want it, Mr. Writer? We'll do it exactly how you've envisaged it in your head.
Far from it.
Yeah. And that's what you want. You want somebody who comes to it and goes, well, this is how I see it. This is how I envisage it. This is how I would do it. And you've all got to kind of work together, haven't you, to create something that actually works as a movie.
This is it. And we've got a great producer, Alana Riddell-Bond, her name is. She has been very nurturing from the get-go, and we completely trust her. She gets what it is we're trying to create, or what we were trying to create from the script. She understands the story fully. So with someone with an overarching view of the project, I think it will be kept within certain narrow confines. People will be given leeway creatively, of course, but as an example, I won't name the person, but we did, when we interviewed directors, we gave them the opportunity to pitch what their vision of the film was. And one particular guy came in and he either hadn't read it or he didn't like it. And he completely deconstructed it, dismantled it in actual fact, and was pitching a different film to us.
Right.
And we said we can't work with him because he's not prepared to work with us. There's a difference.
But also, it's like, hang on, if you could, if you're coming in to pitch being a director for this movie, don't present another one.
Exactly, you got it.
Yeah, it's like you're auditioning for this job, mate.
Yeah. That's it. You're pitching for something else. Enough people have seen it, have read the script and like it, to think that it's good as it is. We're not, as I've already said, we are more than prepared to change it. We have got several drafts to do, tweaks and amendments. We've got to shorten it for starters. We've got to take stuff. It's a bit of a kill your darlings moment because we've got to lose some of the stuff that we thought was hilarious. But they said it's too long, so we're going to take some of those bits out. But that's the process. And
but the thing is as well, if you're this far along, it's like, you're being invited into the room to pitch to direct this movie. So it's like, clearly it's got this far without it being completely ripped apart and start again. Yeah. That's just.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've encountered that before. I saw it, I worked at the BBC and I'd meet people there. I'd be sat in meetings where we're pitching ideas. And, I'm not saying my ideas were the best, but I'd sometimes come up with ideas and then instantly someone who hadn't said something latched onto something I'd pitched, and not just me, but other people. And then they go, oh, we'll take that bit. And then what if we do that? It's like, no, you're completely destroying the original idea. I don't know if you remember a certain football show we worked on.
Absolutely.
The replacement show. It was the end of my tenure at the BBC when.
But the thing is, also, I do think there's a certain amount. I think there's a certain amount of how can I put it? Not hubris, but I think there's a certain amount of kind of like, well, I'm you're asking me to come along and pitch as a director. Well, here's what I do, and it's like, this is what I bring to the party. This is what I do. And which maybe maybe works for stuff. But it does sound a bit sort of counterintuitive. It reminds me of bands being pitch producers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, producer coming in going like, yeah, I'm going to soak the drums in reverb and we're going to make it sound really huge. And you're like, they walk out and you just think, what the fuck album is he making?
Yeah.
He's never heard any of our stuff or seen us live. Clearly, he's got no idea. It's the same thing, isn't it?
That's a really strong comparison. Yeah, it's like a dick swinging contest for these people,
Yes.
And it's like, I mean, again, going back to Alana, she went, nah, we're not having him, and that was pretty much it. She didn't say that, but you could tell. It's like it goes back to her. She understood the story. And so we went. In the end, we've gone with a really young guy. He's only 29. He's only made a few shorts.
Oh, bloody hell, we're aging, mate. A really young guy, 29.
I know.
Don't you mean just 5 years older than us two?
He's old enough to be my dad, my son. I'm old enough to be his dad, even. Sorry. No, the point is, age is irrelevant. He understood what we're trying to do. He likes it, and I can say, I won't reveal his name because there's been no big announcement yet. There will be, but he helped us with the read, so he had inside information. He's one of the people. He's one of the actors who read on the read for us. He's a bit of a rising star in Northern Ireland, but more will be revealed as it.
But also, from your point of view, that means that he's been, he's ground floor. He knows this.
Yeah, he gets it. I mean, the thing was, during the read, he was making suggestions to change dialogue on the script, and we went, absolutely, whatever you think they would say, change it. Yeah. So he didn't go, oh, I don't like that. He said, what if the character was to say, it was the way he suggested things as well.
And funnily enough, this is something that that comes with songwriting. That, to go back to that analogy again, is when you're in a room, if somebody brings the bulk of a tune or something like that, and anybody, if you've got somebody in the room who's going, oh, I don't like that bit, and you go, okay, but we're writing a song here. It's not about what anyone likes. It's about what's best for the song. And also, I don't like that bit, or I don't like it, isn't, to use a sales term, isn't a true objection. It's like, I don't like that bit because it jars with that, or it's up against that. So maybe if we moved it there, because it's especially when you're working with creatives, we've worked with each other loads, and we've all worked with other people. Yeah. And it is about how you make your suggestions and how you and how you get them across. Because just not liking something I always think is never a true criticism, unless you can say, I don't like that bit because, and then suggest a solution or suggest something else. Don't bring me problems, bring me solutions.
Have a solution that's in context with what you've already got, and is also it's not completely left field and crazy. There's nothing wrong with suggesting that, but it's got to be on the page with what everyone's agreeing on. It can't just be. I think we need a big violin solo here if we're talking about a song.
Absolutely.
No, or a string section.
It's like, mate, how are we going to get them on stage at the Underworld?
So yeah.
But that's another thing as well, which I think is important to point out about writing. And I know it's going back to the it's easy to get it made stage and stuff like that. But you can have ideas writing a script where you have to have practical head on. People listening to this who are writers, who are thinking of being writers or whatever. Yeah. It's like, just remember that whatever fucking insane idea you have, someone's got to make it happen. Someone's got to make it real. And if you are, and if you do have this wonderful idea, but if it is absolutely out there, you probably want to think about, dropping it, pushing it to one side, because you've got to get this thing made.
I totally agree. And the other thing is, try not to be plot driven. Try to be more character focused. So
absolutely, it's about
is about characters. It's the nuances of the characters, the depth of the characters, the exploration. There is a plot, but it's secondary to how these characters interact with each other. And it's almost like it's not important in the end. In fact, there's a heist in the story, And that was the other thing. This director, he said that the heist, there needs to be more made of it. It should be the climax. He's like, no, that's not the climax. Yeah. That's not the climax.
He's gone. That's not the climax. He's gone plot over character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was turning it into a big action sequence, crime drama, and we went, no, that's not it.
This is always it. It's about it. Like look, life is about people, not places, and movies are about people. People, not places, not stories. Because ultimately, if you get the characters right, it's essentially doesn't really matter where they go or what they do. You care because you care about the characters.
Yeah.
Whereas if you don't care about the characters, the opposite is also true. They can go into outer space and sprout fucking wings, and you won't give a shit.
Yeah.
Because you're not invested in them. You're not engaged in them.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
it is. It's got to be character.
Yeah, absolutely.
And unless, of course, it's Star Wars, in which case, you just have paper thin characters and fly them around space. It's all going to work.
As you know, I've taught script writing, and I do see it with young writers, especially writing the first time. They try to write a feature film for a short, and a short is it's a single idea, simple single idea with a couple of characters. Characters have a goal, and then they encounter conflict in the fulfillment of that goal. And it's like, that's simple. That's a simple thing. You can put something in somebody's way, preventing them. It could be a physical thing or something from within them. But to try and write a big action movie in a short, and then who cares anyway? It's just, we've seen so many action movies where, that for me, the best action movies are things like Batman, where we do explore some of his inner demons, if you like, as the backstory, but mostly it's vacuous popcorn nonsense, isn't it? So
yeah. And so what stage are you at now then? So
we are in what's termed soft prep. So it's, I know, it's we're refining the script. We're going to be working with the director next week just to make the changes and amendments that he thinks we should include. And then we've got a casting director, and she's going to be looking for suitable talent to play the various parts. We've had, because of the people who did the read, we've got several of those people we think should be allowed to at least audition for the parts, given that they sacrificed a lot of time to help us get the read done. So
that's nice of you. Yeah.
They're going to look at them. Well, to be fair, because the guy I mentioned, he was one of the people who read for us. He has said the same thing. He wants to give some of those people an opportunity. So then we go into, so that's from soft prep is till November. Then it's what's called hard prep, which is set build. It'll be all the heads of department in place doing all their tests, camera tests, various rehearsals with the actors as well. And then principal photography is for just after Christmas, first week in January, all the way to January. It's 4 6-day weeks. It's going to be really, really tough schedule. And then post-production is February to April. And that's kind of, I mean, it's remarkable, really, that it's less than 2 years old, the project.
Yeah, I know.
And some people wait 5, sometimes 10 years to get their film made. So
you've done it. Yeah, I mean, you've done all sorts of projects that have either like got so far and never got over the line, or I mean, let's face it. We've worked on scripts for longer than 2 years. So, but that's when you say, by the way, when you say principal photography, is that filming? Is that shooting?
That's all the main filming that you're going to do. So it doesn't.
So why is it called principal photography? Because there is no photography going on. It is filming, right? We're just going to, and then it's making the film. It's shooting the film, filming the film. But it's called principal photography. Yeah, it's the coverage. It's all the planned shots, and then of course beyond that there'll be what are called pickups, where they get to the edit and go, "Oh, we need that shot there. Or that's not quite right." There'll be some reshoots as well. Hopefully not, because of the budget and time. But 4 weeks is not long. I mean, the shortest. I actually worked on a film where I met Deborah, my partner, and that was 6 weeks, and that was tight. That was a TV film. But it's interesting. That makes me nervous, to be honest, because it's, having made films myself, you're always looking at the clock, But
you have to sacrifice shots. If you sacrifice shots, you're sacrificing the storytelling element. So
but by the same token, it's not your that's not your
absolutely. It's not mine.
That's not your role in this.
It's not my problem.
No,
not my problem.
No. And it's like, you know.
And then of course we've got the reception of the film.
It's
how are people going to react to it? So it's like, you know, like I said earlier, you know, you worry about the writing, then you worry about getting it made, then you worry about how it's going to be received. So
but hang on. Never mind how it's going to be received by everybody, how it's going to be received by you. Yeah. I mean, you might, you know, you might see like a final edit or whatever. You'd be just like, well, there's an element of what we wrote in there.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. I mean, it's scary times, but it's exciting as well. It's because hopefully, you know, I've got, like Brian, I've got a massive portfolio of stuff I've written over the years. I've got about 7 or 8 feature films I've written. You and I started something a couple of years ago. Remember the rom-com idea?
Oh,
and mate. I've still got the notes for that. I've still got the notes. So at some point we'll go back to that. Well, when we can get it made.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. But even then, I think we did establish that it was like we did keep it down to like limited locations.
Yeah, it was 3. It was 3. Yeah, I think it was the hotel. The second half of the film's at the hotel, the country house thing, isn't it?
First half's in the office, and the middle's is a road trip.
There's an apartment as well.
Yeah, well, the middle is a road trip.
Yeah.
And it's it's so important to try.
And then we introduced the sharks and the aliens, and it went mental.
Yeah. The superhero element, so we can merchandise it. Now
who knows? You know, it's one of those things like something. Oh, we're looking for a rom-com. Oh, really? Well, I've got the basis for a rom-com. You never know, Howard. You know.
What about the aspect of you said like you're looking for an agent? You know, so all of a sudden you've not been in this position. You know, you get someone turns around to you and goes, "Oh, like who's your agent?" And you're like, "Well, I haven't got one."
Well, as somebody said to me, an industry friend, he said, "You don't need an agent to get, because look how far you've come without an agent, but you need an agent." Well, that doesn't help me at all. He said, "No, you need, because moving forward, hopefully the film is, firstly, it makes the money back that they've spent on it, at least, hopefully a bit of a profit, and it gets some kudos, you know, critically. People say, you know, oh, this is a good film. If they say that, job done. But on the basis of that, you're then going to be in demand. People are going to want you. They're going to say, "Oh, you did that. Okay, well, could you work for us? Could you write something for us?" So you need an agent to, having a band manager to negotiate all the stuff that is horrible, the nitty gritty things.
Absolutely. But
and where money's concerned as well, you need that person to know they're getting the best deal for you. But I mean, that's, for me, getting more work is the main thing. Getting more work, getting more writing work, because as you know, I've wanted to be a writer for over 20 years. So,
well, you know what they say: if you can do. If you can't teach. Then, well, you're doing both. So,
what if you can't teach?
Then you're fucked. You know. Yeah. But I know. I get it though. It's like, you do need an agent. Well, you've got this far. But now you need an agent to be able to keep things going. I mean,
career progression.
Yeah, but it's the same as when I got my band signed to a record label at 17. It's like, right, great, well done, but now you need a manager. I mean, you know, proof you don't need a manager to get a record deal is that you've already got a record deal. Yeah. But you now need to get a manager because there's going to be a shitload of stuff to do with the industry that you haven't got a clue about, and also you don't want to be dealing with anyway.
No, you want to be creative. Yeah.
Like it's like any business, isn't it? You have people in the roles that they're good at, and anything they're not good at, you take out of their way, so they're just doing what they're good at. And that's an agent's role, isn't it? Is to just basically you just write,
nuts and bolts, bean counting.
I'll do the other stuff. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Or indeed, counting nuts and bolts.
No, I mean, to be fair, some agents are very creative as well. A lot of them are now producers. So
Yeah.
Some of the bigger agencies, they've got producers on their books who work as agents. So yeah, I mean,
Oh, delivery. Hang on.
all right.
So after all that, it was actually some postman who just decided he'd just ring the first button that he could.
All
so
right.
yeah, brilliant. One letter from the bank.
Lovely.
Bloody useless. So not the most exciting of delivery interruptions that you get on podcasts, because that's like a thing now, isn't it? It's like I'm glad we had a delivery.
Yeah.
It means we're bona fide.
Yeah.
So getting an agent.
Yeah.
Where are you in that at that stage? You know.
Well, interestingly, I mean, I thought, oh, this is a green light to get an agent, getting the option agreement. So I furnished an email and spun it off to what the way I've approached it is I'm doing one at a time, because I'm working on the basis that if somebody likes us and they come back and say, oh, come and meet us, I think that's the right way to do. I liken it to dating. It's like you ask a load of girls out at once and they all come back and say, yeah, I'll meet you. Where, you know, you're going to embarrass yourself. So I just thought if we do it one at a time, but they'll remain nameless. The one that we've approached so far, I got a personal introduction to them as well and explained the situation. We've been options. The company are very keen to make the film as soon as possible. And I got a very polite email back saying, oh, great, send us the scripts along with another script. So I sent them the two feature scripts we've written, and I'll get back to you. And that was about 8 weeks ago. Nothing.
Right. Yeah.
I've since updated that same agent about 3 times with progress that we've made. Nothing. Not even a bit busy at the moment. I'll get back to you. So go back to the off-air discussion about reliability. It's very frustrating, but I get it. I mean, for me, I just want to be able to move forward. If he doesn't like it, just say it's not for me. Fine.
Yeah.
But then again, he may not have read it yet. But so also, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know where we stand.
But but to be honest, the other way of looking at it, to look at it, use a dated musical comparison is, I've got 300 demo tapes here, and I am not writing back to 299 and saying, sorry, but this isn't for me right now, and then signing one of them. I'm just, it's like, ultimately, you sent me your demo. Yeah, you sent it to me. I didn't ask you for it. I owe you nothing.
Yeah.
And if you hear back, it'll be a yes. And everything else is no.
Yeah.
I say I know the feeling. I know the feeling.
No, but that's it.
Well, when I was like, shopping the first Acid Rain album for 29 years around, and I'm still waiting for replies from some labels. I mean, I'm presuming it was a no.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, yeah, okay, fine. Whatever.
I think well, we've decided just to move on, and Brian has now approached another agent, and what we've been told though is don't worry about it, it will sort itself out, because of the film is being produced under the Northern Ireland Screen New Talent Focus scheme. There will be an interest in all those involved in it anyway, so it's likely that we'll get picked up that way. I'm working on the basis that it's going to do okay. The film, it's going to make the money back. It's going to get some decent reviews. We'll get picked up that way. If it's an absolute turkey, I don't know where we stand. But that's me being the pessimist that I am again. Glass
absolutely,
half empty.
Mate. Absolutely. That is you, the pessimist.
Yeah, I'm not thinking about the premiere and walking down a red carpet in a bloody tuxedo.
Yeah, you're thinking about it getting slated.
Yeah. Mark Kermo destroying it on his podcast.
Yeah, it's one of those things, though, isn't it? It as a writer, though, it is kind of weird because, as we were touching on earlier, you have that kernel of the idea.
Yeah.
But it goes through so many pairs of hands. It's seen by so many different sets of eyes.
Yeah.
and everybody has their input into the vision. And so whatever it is, when it's finished, there's going to be a load of stuff there that was just never on your, never anywhere near what you were thinking.
I think, and that's the key for anyone who's listening, who's actually interested in script writing and filmmaking, or anything creative that requires other people to help, whether it's music or any kind of production. You have to accept that you're going to lose control, 100% control over that product, whatever it is you're making. And if that doesn't work for you, then you're probably doing the wrong thing. You hear stories about people who, I remember Phil Jackson was telling me about a writer producer he knows, he's worked with, and they don't like actors change. Don't stick to the script, say it exactly as it is. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. An actor can probably come up with a better line. Just because you've written something that you think is killer doesn't mean it's going to work on the page. You have to accept it's a team effort, and it's collaborative, and it's you're a big family trying to make, as long as everyone's pulling the same direction and has got the interest of the project, the best interest of the projects at heart. I think you've got to trust people as well. There's no room for control freaks, although the industry is full of them.
Well, if you're an actor and you surely you've got to be comfortable with saying whatever's coming out of your mouth. And if you found a way of getting this to come out of your mouth in a way that's more comfortable, then that's going to be more convincing.
Yeah.
And if you just want, people aren't robots. You can't just say, no, say the words the way they are written down. Well, that's not acting, is it? That's just, you're a copy typist.
Yeah.
That's basically.
And as a writer as well, you've got to accept that you're going to be doing a little bit of vicarious living. So if I'm thinking about the end of next year, the film will be probably out by then. The plan is to get it into festivals and competitions as well. But let's say a year from now, September 2022, and it's out, and everyone is saying, brilliantly directed film, the performances of such and such a body, I'll be really happy.
Yes.
If I'm not mentioned, I'll be really pleased. If, on the other hand, people are saying, terrible script, the worst film I've seen, then obviously I'll be depressed. But for the director and the actors to get the kudos, I don't mind. That's great, because anyone who's in the know and anyone who's making stuff, they understand that everything starts from the scripts anyway.
Yeah, so. But this is it. Writers very rarely get the credit they deserve, and until years ago, I was the same. But without the writing, without that bedrock, without that idea, I mean, it's literally, this is when you watch a movie and you just think, that just never worked. It never came together. It never clicked. And invariably, it's like, you can't build a house without the foundations.
Yeah.
And it's just, without that original foundation of writing, of story, of character, of journey, of beginning, middle, end.
Yeah.
If you don't have that to start with, then you've got little or no chance.
Absolutely.
And it's weird for a role to be so key and yet so overlooked.
Absolutely.
But in general, by the public. I mean, you don't, people come out and you do. It's like, oh, what a great performance. Oh, wasn't the photography? Didn't it look lovely? No one comes out and go, wow, the writing was amazing. It just doesn't happen, unfortunately.
No. Well, we accept that. As I say, if everyone's talking about what a great film, the way it was directed, that's fine. Yeah. That's fine by me. I'll just be waiting for the phone to ring. And
you do realize you're the musical equivalent of the drummer on this, don't you?
Yeah.
It's like basically you're at the back and no one can see you, but without you, it all falls apart.
Yeah. Very true.
But I mean, that's damned by faint praise. Yeah. But I'm chuffed to bits that you've got this far. Well, I remember when we were out for in between lockdown beers.
Yes.
And it, you were enthusiastic then and saying it's like, it's good noises so far.
Yeah.
You know, we've both been around long enough to not go, oh yeah, this is it, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, just to keep getting these little updates from you, and it's awesome. And it's kind of like I just keep waiting for the next positive update, because that's the way it's been. And it's just that's not what we used to, is it at all?
No, it's a slog.
Yeah,
I mean, it's still a slog. I don't mind the slog now. Things seem to be happening. It's the slog where nothing's moving, nothing seems to be going forward. And but I've done a lot of that over the years. But looking back, I had to do that slog as well, and it probably was because I wasn't right or ready. I think there's this notion now that in this age of entitlement, where people want everything instantly, and you have to work at it. You have to develop your craft. It's like Emma Raducanu, the tennis player. Everyone's going, oh, it's amazing. She's 18. It's like, yeah, but she's been playing tennis for 13 years.
Yeah.
That didn't just happen. 13 years, staying behind late, practicing a serve and stuff. So it's like, it's the same with writing. Just sat in a room on your own, largely. Just the adage is you have to write 1,000,000 words of crap before you find something that's good. And hopefully I've written my 1,000,000th word.
Well, speaking as somebody who's who's known you for years and has written with you and all the rest of it, I'm just I just endorse everything that you said. It's all hard work. I mean, fuck me, you and Lawrence Fishburne had a movie greenlit together.
Yes.
And then the Iraq War happened and it all came fucking tumbling down.
Oh, George Bush, Tony Blair. Thanks a lot, mate.
Exactly. So there you go. It's like, yes, that's right, listeners. Though that is exactly what happened. And I mean, you can't manage everything.
So that was exactly 19 years that was 2002. I learned from Lawrence Fishburne, who I'd supported for about 10 months, writing an adaptation of The Alchemist, that it was going to be made into the film, that he developed the script that I'd supported him with. And then George Bush decides to blame Saddam Hussein for world terrorism. And Tony Blair supports him, and the rest is history. Yeah. So the film went away because it was going to be made in the Middle East, and it was deemed unsafe.
So Tony Blair is not only a war criminal, but he's also responsible for putting a 19-year delay in your career.
On my career, the bastard. Yeah.
I mean, bigger picture here, guys. Bigger picture.
Yeah.
Well, look, mate. Thank you so much. It's been awesome.
Pleasure, mate.
And sorry it's taken so long to get around to.
It's great.